A millionaire took a homeless woman to his ex-fiancée's wedding, and what happened next left everyone speechless. This isn't just a story about revenge, it's about secrets, betrayal, and the power of second chances. Before we dive in, comment below and tell us where you're watching from, and get ready for a tale you'll never forget. William Lancaster was the kind of man who seemed untouchable. He wore his wealth like armor, custom suits, a penthouse view of the city, and a reputation for being as ruthless in business as he was charming in public. But even a man like William had weak points, and today he held one of them in his hand, an ornate wedding invitation, printed on heavy paper, the edges gilded and sharp as memory. It was from his ex-fiancée, Olivia Harrington, the woman who'd left him for another man, without warning, only to send him this invitation months later. As if daring him to see what he'd lost, he turned the card over in his hands, feeling the sting all over again. "Is this a joke?" he muttered, tossing the envelope onto his mahogany desk. His best friend, Dom Carter, picked it up and whistled. "That's cold, man. Are you going to go?" William let out a harsh laugh. "And show up alone, like some loser?" "No thanks." Dom leaned back in the chair, eyes sharp with mischief. "Then don't go alone. Bring someone. Show her you've moved on." The idea was dangerous, tempting, but William knew one thing. If he was going to attend this wedding, he wasn't just going to show up with any woman. He needed to make an impression. Olivia deserved to see him with someone unforgettable. That afternoon, as William left his office and crossed the busy city streets, his mind turned over the possibilities. That's when he noticed her, a young woman sitting on the sidewalk in front of a bustling restaurant, wrapped in a faded coat, her hair tangled, her gaze hard. There was something about her, though, something in the way she sat, proud even on the cold concrete. Her eyes didn't beg, they challenged. On impulse, William walked over, hands in his pockets. "You need money?" he asked. The woman looked up, not with gratitude, but with a smirk, as if she'd seen every trick the world could play. "What is this? A social experiment? You ask, I say yes, and you toss me a coin or walk away." No one ever spoke to William Lancaster like that. For a moment he almost laughed. "Come with me to an event," he said instead, "and I'll pay you enough to change your life." She let out a low chuckle, shaking her head. "Do you always use lines like that, or just when you want to feel like a savior?" William kept his composure, even as her sarcasm threw him off balance. "Just dress up, smile, and come with me. That's all." She tilted her head, eyes glinting with mischief. "So, you want me to be your decorative doll for a night? If you don't want the offer, I can find someone else," William replied, jaw tightening. She laughed loud, unashamed. "Oh please, who else is waiting in line here?" She stood, dusting off her jeans, and stepped closer, too close. "I'll accept," she said, as if doing him a favor, "but only because I'm curious." William felt a shiver of something unfamiliar. "Curious about what?" She smiled, eyes unreadable. "To see how far a man like you is willing to go." He paused. Who was this woman? Whoever she was about to change everything. Her name was Isabella. She gave it casually, with a shrug, as William opened the door to his sleek black car. She slid into the leather seat as if she'd always belonged there, unbothered, almost amused by his curiosity. William found himself glancing at her as they drove through the city. No questions, no fear, not even a flicker of surprise at the sudden twist her life had taken. If anything, Isabella seemed to be studying him, and that unsettled him more than he cared to admit. "You don't even want to know where we're going?" he finally asked, breaking the silence. She turned to him with a half smile. "Someplace expensive, I assume. Should I be curious?" William almost smiled. "Most people would be." She looked out the window, her expression unreadable. "You found me on the street and offered me money to be your date. That's already strange enough. But I doubt you're planning to sell me into human trafficking, or anything." He laughed. A real one this time, caught off guard. "No, nothing like that. Just a social event, a wedding." Her eyebrow arched. "You have that look, a man trying to get revenge on someone." He frowned, but she didn't press. When the car pulled up to an elegant glass building, Isabella stepped out first, bold and sure. William followed, unable to shake the feeling that this woman was about to surprise him at every turn. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of expensive products. A team of stylists rushed to greet them. William barely paused before declaring, "I want a complete transformation. Hair, makeup, clothes, everything." Isabella raised an eyebrow as she was ushered to a chair. "If you want to change your mind, now's your chance," she called out over her shoulder. "Change my mind about what?" She shrugged. "About me. I thought you'd want someone more impressionable." William crossed his arms, studying her. "Are you not impressed by any of this?" She closed her eyes as the stylist began washing her hair. "I've been in this world before." That admission struck him. Before he could ask more, he was politely nudged into the waiting area. Hours passed, every minute feeding his curiosity. When he was finally summoned, what he saw stunned him. Gone was the tired woman from the street. Before him stood a vision, Isabella's hair, now gleaming in elegant waves, her skin radiant, lips curved in a subtle smile. The dress hugged her frame, making her look like she'd always belonged in high society. But her eyes, confident, mysterious, undaunted, were what held him most. "You don't look surprised," he said, unable to hide his awe. She met his gaze in the mirror, a secretive smile on her lips. "Because I'm not." He wanted to ask her 1,000 questions. Instead, she took the purse handed to her by the stylist and glided past him, the transformation complete not just on the outside but somewhere deeper. "Who are you, Isabella?" he asked quietly as they left. She only smiled, mysterious as ever, someone who knows how to seize good opportunities. The ride to the event was silent except for the city lights streaming by. William's nerves were taut, but Isabella was the picture of calm. "You're very quiet," he finally said. "I'm just enjoying the silence. Most people in your situation would be dazzled," William admitted. "Maybe I'm not most people," she replied, her tone gentle but unshakable. He realized pressing her would get him nowhere. There was more to Isabella than she let on tonight. He intended to find out just how much more. The car stopped in front of a grand banquet hall, glittering with the lights of high society. Limousines lined the street. Photographers flashed. Bulbs. It was a world of masks and money, and William had always felt at home until now. He stepped out first, offered his hand, and Isabella accepted. When she emerged, all eyes turned. Women whispered, men stared. Nobody recognized her, but everyone wanted to. Isabella didn't falter. With regal poise, she let William lead her down the red carpet, past the stairs, into the heart of the party. "Follow my lead," he whispered. "Smile. Don't draw unnecessary attention." She shot him a look. "Did you bring me here to make your ex jealous, or to be invisible?" He didn't answer, but her smirk said she knew. Inside, crystal chandeliers sparkled. The elite mingled and laughed, glasses clinking. It didn't take long for William to spot Olivia, radiant in white, her new fiancée by her side. Olivia's smile faded when she saw William and vanished altogether when her eyes landed on Isabella. Game on. William led Isabella directly toward Olivia and her fiancé Charles Montrose. Olivia looked flawless, her smile perfectly measured, but William saw the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes as she took in the striking woman on his arm. "Olivia," he greeted, polite but cold. She recovered quickly, forcing a gracious smile. "William, I didn't expect you to come." William nodded. "Of course I came." He gestured to Isabella. "And I brought company." Olivia's gaze swept over Isabella with barely disguised suspicion. "We haven't met you before," William could answer. Isabella stepped forward, extending her hand with practiced elegance. "Isabella, a pleasure to meet you." Her voice was smooth, her confidence unshakable. Olivia hesitated, then shook her hand, her composure brittle. "You look familiar," Olivia said, searching Isabella's face. Isabella smiled, tilting her head. William watched the exchange, a surge of satisfaction building inside him. Olivia was unsettled, and that was exactly what he wanted. Charles, ever the diplomat, raised his champagne glass. "Shall we toast?" William nodded, but before he could reach for a glass, Isabella's voice rang out, calm and clear. "I hope you'll be very happy. Marriage is a serious commitment. I was once engaged myself." William froze, startled by the revelation. Olivia and Charles exchanged quick, nervous glances. "Really?" Olivia asked, her tone too casual. Isabella nodded, sipping her drink, but it didn't work out. "My fiancé decided I wasn't the right choice for his family." The words hung in the air like a challenge. William felt a chill run down his spine. Isabella wasn't just playing along, she was playing her own game. "That's an interesting coincidence," Olivia said, her voice tight. Isabella's smile didn't waver. "I think so, too." An awkward silence stretched. William could tell Olivia was struggling to keep her composure. Isabella glanced up at him, her eyes glimmering with mischief. "Would you like to dance?" she asked suddenly. William blinked. "Dance?" She leaned closer, her voice playful. "Or would you rather stay here and watch your ex try to figure out where she knows me from?" He couldn't help it. He laughed, surprised at how much he enjoyed her boldness. "Let's dance." As they moved onto the dance floor, Isabella glided into his arms with the grace of someone who had been born for this world. The orchestra swelled, and for a moment, William forgot the stares, the whispers, the tension. He could only focus on her. "You did that on purpose," he murmured, leading her smoothly. She smiled, eyes sparkling. "Didn't I tell you I've been in this world before?" He searched her face, realizing she was far more than she seemed. "You keep surprising me. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" she asked, voice teasing. William hesitated, feeling something shift inside him. "I haven't decided yet." She laughed softly. "I think you have. You're just afraid to admit it." Before he could respond, a group of businessmen approached, raising their glasses in greeting. "Lancaster, didn't think you'd show up." William returned their handshakes, trying not to let Isabella out of his sight. "Wouldn't miss it." Their attention quickly shifted to Isabella. "And who's your lovely companion?" Isabella smiled, her poise flawless. "Isabella, a pleasure." "You look familiar," one of them said, squinting. "Perhaps we've met at an event before." Isabella replied smoothly, her eyes never leaving William's. Another man, older and more commanding, joined the group. Darman Blackwood. He introduced himself, offering Isabella his hand. You seem very comfortable here. She shook his hand with confidence. Maybe because I am. Domin laughed. Genuinely impressed. I like that. And what's your relationship with Lancaster? Isabella shot William a playful look. Just an interesting partnership. William felt something ignite inside him. Was it jealousy, admiration, or both? Before he could react, Isabella smoothly excused herself from the crowd, drawing him aside. What exactly are you doing? He asked, voice low. She smiled, that same mysterious confidence in her eyes, standing out. Wasn't that your plan? You're standing out too much, he said, unable to hide his irritation. She tilted her head. You don't like it when you can't control the game, do you? William stared at her, equal parts frustrated and fascinated. Before he could answer, Olivia appeared, her eyes narrowed. I hope you're enjoying the party, Olivia said, her tone sugary but laced with steel. Very much, Isabella replied before William could speak. Olivia forced a smile, then leaned closer. You know, I feel like we've met before. Isabella shrugged. High society is a small world. William watched as the two women circled each other, their words polite but edged with danger. Isabella wasn't just surviving, she was winning, and for the first time, William wondered if he'd ever truly understand her. As the night wore on, Isabella moved through the crowd with the ease of someone born into privilege, but William knew the truth. Just days ago, she'd been sleeping on a city sidewalk, and yet, here she was, weaving through the pillars of society, like she belonged, her laughter echoing beneath the chandeliers, her confidence shaking everyone who tried to size her up. Olivia watched her closely all night, her smiles growing tighter with every passing hour. William noticed, and so did Isabella. He leaned toward her, his voice low. You're making quite an impression, she grinned. That was the plan, wasn't it? He found himself drawn to her, unable to look away as she conversed with CEOs, joked with politicians, even debated the finer points of art with a famous critic. It was as if Isabella had stepped out of a different life, and in a way, she had. After a while, Olivia intercepted Isabella near the bar, her tone sugar-coated but her eyes glinting with suspicion. You dance well, Olivia remarked, swirling her wine. Thank you. So do you, Isabella replied smoothly. Olivia leaned in, her voice dropping. You know how to speak, how to carry yourself. I appreciate that. It wasn't a compliment, Olivia replied, her words sharp. Isabella's poise never wavered. Then what was it? Olivia sipped her wine, considering an observation. You're not who you seem, are you? Isabella's smile faltered, for just a heartbeat, then returned. Maybe I'm just a quick learner. Olivia studied her for a moment, then offered a brittle smile. Don't worry, Isabella. I always find out. With that, she slipped away into the crowd, leaving Isabella with a chill down her spine. She wasn't the only one hiding secrets later. As the evening finally wound down, William found Isabella outside on the terrace, staring out over the city lights. Enjoy yourself, he asked, leaning on the balustrade beside her. She nodded. It's strange. For a while I almost forgot who I was. He glanced at her, something shifting in his chest. Who are you, Isabella, really? She met his gaze, her eyes suddenly tired. Just someone who made a few wrong turns. Before he could press further, a voice echoed from inside, calling the guests for the bouquet toss. The moment was lost, but the questions lingered. On the drive back to the hotel, the city glowed outside their windows. William's mind raced, trying to fit together the pieces of the puzzle that was Isabella. He dropped her at the hotel, but didn't leave right away. As she opened her door, he said softly, You know Olivia won't let this go, right? I know, Isabella replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But I'm not running. For the first time, William saw something vulnerable behind her walls, a flicker of fear, quickly hidden away. Before he could stop himself, he reached out and squeezed her hand. You don't have to fight alone, he said. She smiled, tired but grateful. Good night, William. Good night, Isabella. As the door closed behind her, William stood in the hallway, knowing that he'd never be the same after tonight. He didn't know who Isabella really was or what she was running from, but he knew one thing for certain. He wanted to find out. The next morning, William sat in his office staring at the city skyline, unable to focus on anything but Isabella. Her words haunted him. Who was she really, and why did she fit into this world so perfectly, as if she'd simply pressed pause on another life? Finally, his curiosity and something deeper overcame his reservations. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. Vince, I need a favor, he said, voice low. I want you to look into someone for me. Her name is Isabella. No last name yet. Find everything you can. His old contact chuckled on the other end. A mystery woman, huh? That's not like you, Lancaster. I'll see what I can dig up. William hung up and leaned back in his chair, the sense of losing control gnawing at him. He was used to knowing everything, to having the upper hand. But with Isabella, he was always one step behind. Meanwhile, Isabella spent the day at the hotel, her mind spinning with doubts. She'd seen Olivia's face last night, the suspicion, the calculation. It was only a matter of time before the past caught up with her. As evening fell, there was a knock on her door. She opened it to find William, hands in his pockets, eyes searching her face. "I thought you'd want an update on last night," he said, stepping inside. She let him in, closing the door behind him. "Or did you just come to check if I'm still here?" He hesitated, caught off guard by her directness. Both they sat across from each other, the silence heavy. William finally broke it. "You're not who you say you are," he said, quietly. She stared at him, not denying it. "I had you investigated," he admitted. Isabella didn't flinch. "And what did you find?" He shook his head. "Nothing. It's like you don't exist. No records, no history. Just gone." She smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "Sometimes it's safer to disappear." William leaned forward, his voice gentle but intense. "Why? Who were you running from?" She looked away, her hands trembling just slightly. "I'm not ready to talk about it. Not yet." He wanted to push, to demand the truth, but something in her face stopped him. Instead, he reached out, his hand covering hers. "You can trust me," he said, surprising even himself with a softness in his voice. Isabella didn't pull away. For a moment, the walls between them thinned, and William saw the woman behind the armor, wounded, resilient, afraid but unbroken. "I'll tell you soon," she whispered. "Just not tonight." William nodded, understanding more than he could say. He left her room with more questions than answers, but also with the certainty that he would wait for as long as it took that night. Isabella lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her heart pounding. She knew she couldn't keep her secrets forever. Sooner or later, William and Olivia would learn the truth, and when they did, everything would change. The following day dawned gray and restless. William was in his office when his phone buzzed. It was Vince, his investigator. "I've got something," Vince said, voice hushed with urgency. "You were right. She's hiding." The name she gave you isn't her real one. Her real name is Isabella Dio. William's heart skipped. That name, he knew it. Years ago, the Dio family had been at the center of a massive scandal. Richard Dio, her father, was once a titan in construction, until accusations of embezzlement, fraud, and betrayal sent his empire crashing down. The story had dominated headlines, ruined reputations, and left the Dio family vanished without a trace. "She's Richard Dio's daughter," Vince continued. "Her whole family disappeared after the trial. No records, no sightings, nothing, until now." William stared at the city skyline, everything falling into place, the confidence, the way Isabella navigated high society, the pain in her eyes. "Thank you, Vince. I'll handle it from here," William said. Hanging up that evening, he drove straight to Isabella's hotel. Unable to shake the gravity of what he'd learned, he knocked hard. She answered in a simple t-shirt and jeans, her face bare of makeup, her armor gone. "We need to talk," he said, stepping into the room. She didn't protest, just watched him with wary eyes. "I know who you are," he said, gently. "Isabella Dio. Your father was Richard Dio." She closed her eyes, the fight leaving her shoulders. "You found out?" William's voice was soft. "Why didn't you tell me?" She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands twisting in her lap. "Would you have treated me the same if you'd known?" "No one does. The Dio name is ruined." He knelt in front of her, forcing her to meet his gaze. "You're not your father. Whatever happened, it wasn't your fault." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "You don't know what it's like. One day I had everything: private schools, galas, friends who promised forever. Then nothing. I lost my home, my mother. My father died with his name still dragged through the mud. Olivia was part of it. All her family set the trap that destroyed mine." William's anger simmered. "Olivia Harrington did this to you." "She orchestrated it," Isabella whispered. "She made sure I couldn't escape the scandal. She's the reason I was on that street, the reason I have nothing." A silence fell, heavy and raw. William reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. "I'm sorry, Isabella, for everything." She smiled through her tears, fragile but grateful. "I didn't want to drag you into this." He shook his head. "Too late. We're in this together. Now." For the first time, Isabella allowed herself to lean into him, resting her head against his chest. William held her close, promising silently that she would never be alone again. The next morning brought chaos. The city's tabloids exploded with headlines: "Fallen heiress at society wedding. Isabella Dio returns from the ashes." Pictures of Isabella, both in her glamorous transformation and the harsh, candid shots of her on the street, spread like wildfire. Olivia had made her move. William slammed the newspaper down, his jaw clenched with fury. He called Isabella immediately, his voice protective. "Don't read the news. Come to my office now." Isabella arrived, head held high despite the swarm of photographers outside. She wore simple clothes, no makeup, but her eyes burned with a new resolve. As soon as the door closed behind her, William took her hands. "She's trying to destroy you again, Isabella, but I'm not going to let her." Isabella met his gaze. "Strong. She's not going to break me this time." William felt a swell of pride and something deeper he was no longer able to deny. "What do you want to do?" For a moment, Isabella hesitated. She'd spent so long running, hiding, surviving, but now, something had changed. She'd found an ally, maybe even a partner, and she was tired of being the victim. "I want to fight back," she said quietly. William nodded, determination sparking in his eyes. "Then let's do it. We'll find proof, anything that shows what Olivia did to your family. I have resources, lawyers, contacts. We'll go after her in her own world. For the first time in years, Isabella allowed herself to hope. That afternoon they met with William's legal team. Isabella told her story from the beginning, her father's downfall, Olivia's betrayal, the web of lies that had ensnared her family. William's lawyers listened, took notes, and began to dig. Days passed in a whirlwind. William pulled strings, called in favors, and pushed his team relentlessly. Isabella spent long nights at the office, poring over documents, reliving painful memories, but never backing down. The media storm intensified. Olivia tried to paint Isabella as a manipulator, a woman out for sympathy and money. Paparazzi followed Isabella everywhere. Old acquaintances tried to distance themselves. Every day felt like a new attack. But with every obstacle, Isabella grew stronger. William stood by her side, never overbearing, but always present. When the pressure became too much, he was her anchor. When hope flickered, he was the one who reminded her to fight. One evening, as the city's skyline glowed outside William's penthouse window, Isabella found herself standing on the balcony. Lost in thought, William joined her, offering a cup of tea. "You're winning," he said softly. She managed a smile. "I'm not sure it feels like it." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, gentle. "You're standing up, that's what matters." She looked at him, her defenses down. "I never thought I'd get here. I never thought anyone would believe me." William's eyes darkened with sincerity. "I do." The air between them shifted heavy, electric. Before Isabella could say another word, William leaned in, closing the distance. The kiss was gentle at first, then urgent, both of them letting go of fear and doubt and the pain of the past. For a moment, the world faded, and it was just the two of them, no scandal, no lies, only the start of something real. Days blurred together in a frenzy of strategy, investigation, and mounting pressure. William worked around the clock, coordinating private investigators, tracking financial transactions, and reviewing every scrap of evidence his team uncovered. Isabella matched his determination, chasing leads, reviewing emails, and reaching out to old family friends who might still be willing to help. Their partnership deepened. Gone was the guarded tension of strangers. In its place was an unspoken trust, a growing electric intimacy that neither could deny. Late one night, as the city hummed beneath them, William returned from a meeting to find Isabella asleep on his sofa, a stack of folders at her feet. He draped a blanket over her and watched her for a moment, struck by how much she'd changed since that first day on the sidewalk. She was still fierce, still proud, but now her eyes shone with purpose. He hoped something more. The next morning, a breakthrough. William's investigator called with urgent news. "We found it, sir. The Harrington accounts. There's a money trailer shell company linked directly to Olivia's family, and evidence she manipulated your father's business partners." Isabella's heart hammered in her chest as William relayed the findings. "We have her," he said, voice steely, but Olivia was clever. The news of the investigation must have reached her, because within days, Isabella received a letter hand-delivered, sealed with the Harrington crest. "Your presence is requested at a private dinner at the Harrington Club." Olivia. William read the letter, his face darkening. "It's a trap. She wants to rattle you, maybe by your silence." Isabella's hands shook, but her voice was calm. "I'm not afraid of her anymore. I'm going." William wanted to argue, but the resolve in her eyes stopped him. "Then you're not going alone." That night, Isabella dressed in a sleek black dress, her hair swept back, eyes lined with determination. William was at her side, every bit as imposing in his tailored suit. They entered the Harrington Club arm in arm, the room falling silent. As they crossed the polished marble floor, Olivia greeted them at the top of a grand staircase, her smile tight and cold. "Isabella." "William, so glad you accepted my invitation." Isabella returned the smile, unflinching. "You didn't give me much choice." They were escorted to a private room where a small group of Olivia's allies waited. Lawyers, board members, family, friends. Every face was masked with polite interest. But Isabella saw the calculation in their eyes. Dinner was a dance of veiled threats and subtle power plays. Olivia tried to charm William, to undermine Isabella, to sow seeds of doubt. But this time, Isabella held her ground. She answered every question with poise, deflected every barb with wit, and never once betrayed her fear. When dessert was served, Olivia leaned in, her voice low and dangerous. "You'll never win, Isabella. The world loves a tragedy, but it never forgives a fallen heiress trying to claw her way back." Isabella's gaze was steady. "Maybe not, but the world loves a good scandal, too, and I have all the receipts." She slid an envelope across the table. Inside were copies of the evidence, emails, wire transfers, bank records. Olivia's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages, her mask cracking. William stood, his voice calm but commanding. "If you try to hurt Isabella again, these documents will be on every front page tomorrow morning. Your empire will be finished." For the first time, Olivia was speechless. As they left the club, Isabella's legs threatened to give out, but William caught her, holding her steady. "You did it," he whispered, pride shining in his eyes. "No," she breathed, clinging to him. "We did it. The war wasn't over. but the tide had finally turned. The next morning, the city woke to chaos. Every major news outlet blasted the story. Olivia Harrington under investigation for fraud and conspiracy below the headlines. Photos of Isabella no longer the fallen heiress but a fighter. The pages, the evidence William and Isabella had gathered was damning and irrefutable. Bank accounts, signatures, emails, all linked to Olivia. Her allies fled, her lawyers scrambled, and in one stunning turn, the balance of power shifted. William watched the coverage from his penthouse, Isabella at his side. For the first time, she allowed herself to truly breathe. It was over at least, the worst of it. Olivia's empire crumbled in days. Her board forced her resignation. The authorities announced formal charges, and former friends turned away in droves. The phone rang constantly, reporters, old contacts, even Olivia herself. Isabella ignored them all. She needed time to process what it meant to have her name cleared. Her family finally vindicated. William wrapped his arms around her as they watched the city outside. "It's done," he murmured. "You're free." She pressed her face into his chest, letting out a shaky breath. "I never thought I'd see this day." But freedom came with its own challenges. There were interviews, meetings with lawyers, awkward apologies from people who'd once turned their backs. Through it all, William was her constant calm, steady, fiercely protective. Their relationship, once forged in secrecy and desperation, became something deeper. No more walls, no more masks. William saw all of Isabella, her strength, her scars, her laughter, and her fears. She saw the man behind the millionaire, the one who held her when the world felt too heavy and teased a smile from her even in the darkest moments. One night, after a long day of meetings and interviews, Isabella collapsed on William's couch. He brought her coffee, settling beside her. "I don't know what comes next," she admitted softly. He took her hand, tracing circles on her skin. "Whatever you want. The world's wide open again, Isabella. You don't have to be afraid anymore." She looked up, tears threatening, but this time they were tears of relief. "I'm not afraid, not with you." William smiled, a rare softness in his eyes. "Then let's start over. Not as millionaire and fallen heiress, not as a secret alliance against Olivia. Just us." She nodded, heartful. Just us. In the weeks that followed, Isabella started building something new, a business of her own, a foundation to help others who'd lost everything. William was at her side, but this time, the project was hers. She found old allies, made new friends, and discovered a strength she never knew she had. For William, life changed, too. He realized that real happiness came not from winning every battle, but from standing by the people who mattered. Isabella had changed him, made him kinder, more patient, and far more vulnerable than he'd ever dared to be. On a quiet evening, standing on their balcony, Isabella slipped her hand into William's. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For believing in me. For loving me when I didn't know how to love myself." He squeezed her hand, eyes shining in the city lights. "You saved me too, Isabella. More than you'll ever know." As the city glimmered beneath them, they knew this was only the beginning. A future built not on secrets and pain, but on hope, forgiveness, and the kind of love that could survive anything. Months passed, and the storm faded into memory. Where there had once been scandal and betrayal, there was now come opportunity, laughter, and second chances. Isabella's new company flourished, not just because of her last name or William's support, but because of her tenacity, her wisdom, and the compassion she brought to every project. She hired people who'd fallen on hard times, mentored young women who needed a hand up, and poured her heart into building something worthy of her family's legacy. William, once the city's most untouchable bachelor, was now known as the man who never missed a board meeting, but always left early to bring Isabella coffee or join her at a charity event. His friends joked that he'd gone soft, but William only smiled. For the first time, he didn't mind being vulnerable. He was finally living, not just existing. Their home was filled with warmth. In the mornings, Isabella would find William making a mess in the kitchen, determined to master her favorite breakfast. In the evenings, she'd return the favor, turning takeout into candlelit feasts. Their laughter echoed through every room, their quiet moments as precious as their triumphs. One crisp autumn morning, Isabella found herself pausing at the window, a hand over her stomach, a smile tugging at her lips. William noticed and joined, concern in his eyes. "Everything okay?" he asked. He nodded, tears of happiness threatening to spill over. "Better than okay," he caught on instantly, hope lighting up his face. "Are we?" She nodded again, this time letting the tears fall. "Yes, we're going to have a baby." William's laughter rang out, pure and unguarded. He pulled her into his arms, lifting her off her feet. "You've just made me the happiest man in the world." The months that followed were a whirlwind of preparations, doctor visits, nursery plans, excited phone calls to family and friends. The city watched their story unfold, rooting for them, inspired by the couple who had weathered every storm together. When their daughter was born, William wept openly, holding his family close, as the first light of dawn painted the sky. Isabella, exhausted but radiant, gazed at their child, then at William. "We made it," she whispered. He kissed her forehead, overwhelmed by love. "We'll always make it together." Their story, once marked by loss and betrayal, was now a testament to hope, resilience, and the kind of love that only grows stronger through adversity. If you loved William and Isabella's journey, rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments and subscribe for more incredible tales of love, redemption, and second chances. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another story. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter where you come from or what you've lost, love can find you when you least expect it.